Well, hey, Lung Crushers, how you doing? Hey, Dean here. Listen, I done a couple, reviews, on my channel earlier, and it just kind of dawned on me as I'm rooting through YouTube and kind of looking at some different videos that there wasn't a whole lot of updated stuff on, how you get into hunting or what to look for, what to do, or to start, how to learn. And so I just kind of thought, maybe a cool little, mini series of, my journey, sharing with you guys will kind of help answer some questions, especially the older guys out there that uh maybe looking into, getting into hunting or how to get your kids into hunting or the outdoors in general. And so I just kind of thought, you know what, I'll do a couple quick live shows on, again, my kind of journey of how I got into it. I started late in life, and so I've got a couple bumps in the road that I've kind of learned, and so I just figured it'd be a nice way to share with everybody out there and answer any questions you may have. If I have the answers, for you, certainly we'll share those with you. But a little bit about me, like how I got into it. I started late. I didn't have a hunting mentor, so to speak. So, my grandfather was the only one, and my uncles they did hunt, but at that time I was like really tiny and maybe brat, and so I moved around a lot. So I didn't have a chance to really grow up in that atmosphere and pick up on their knowledge and getting out there. So by the time I was getting into wanting to kind of get out there and figuring this whole hunting thing out, I was late. I was probably 25, 26 years old before I actually went on a hunt at all. And my first hunt really was a duck hunt. Was the first thing I went on, and had no idea, what I was doing. I was lucky enough to have a buddy of mine that was big into duck hunting, and just kind of out of the blue said, "Hey, man, you gotta come duck hunting with me one time." And I thought, man, this sounds like a ball. Like I've seen it, and it looks exciting, and I love being outside, and so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. So what do you do? I mean, if you have nobody that's gonna, take you kind of by the hand and walk you through this journey, like where do you start? And so um, the biggest thing is to try to find somebody to go with. I think that ultimately will help, and just pick their brain. And whether it's a friend, whether it's a guide, it doesn't really matter. Most guides, at least in my experience, are willing to teach and willing to kind of help you out to an extent. They're not teaching you gun safety, so much, or what do you show up with? At the end of the day, I booked a duck hunt, or I booked a whitetail hunt. What am I supposed to have? What kind of camo do I have? Do I have to have face paint? Do I need to spray my clothes down with scent block? Do I need to shower with scent block soap, and don't brush my teeth for 4 days? Like, what happens? Where does that go? And so with these couple videos, I'm hoping to kind of, help you with literally the basic knowledge of day one of getting out there, and what do you bring if you choose to go, with the guide and learn from them, or pick their brain if you don't have somebody next to you that can kind of take you out. Um, there's different communities that you can get involved with, like Ducks Unlimited, the Wild Turkey Foundation, the Elk Foundation. There's a lot of those groups that are probably have some sort of chapter near you or close to you. All of those guys are a great resource. Um, they're Don't go into it expecting them to tell you where to go, but they will certainly help you find out what kind of gun or what kind of, arrows or a bow or camo or whatever. They'll help you with that. But hunters are they're kind of a different breed. I always said it's a very selfless, selfish activity, meaning, when you go out with somebody, you are just as excited if they drop an elk or a whitetail or a pig or a turkey. It doesn't matter. You're just as excited seeing somebody else hammer that animal as much as you would be if you did it yourself. So that's kind of my take on it. And so it's an awesome activity that you can do with friends and have just as much enjoyment out of it as you would if you were flying solo. In my opinion, I think you actually have more fun when you're with your buddies or your crew going out there. And even guides get that they are excited when you're successful. And again, that's a selfish reason for them because you're going to come back and use them again, right? But they're also excited, especially for that new person that's never shot anything, that's never arrowed anything, that's never done, caught a fish or whatever. That moment is a cool moment. So capture it if you can. If you can take a video. Everybody's got a phone. Take a snapshot, take a video of it, and remember that. I think that's important. So back to where you start. I think no matter what age you are, I know a lot of us old guys are like, I don't need to, take a hunter safety course or, whatever. I mean, I'm too old for that shit, well, wrong. I mean, yes. Is there a lot of common sense stuff in it? Absolutely. Don't point your gun at anybody. Don't walk with the barrel, pointed at your buddy when you're walking through woods. I mean, yes, there is a lot of common sense stuff in there. But if you've never been and you have no idea about what loads to use, how do you load a muzzle loader? How do you, do you have to wear orange? All of that stuff is covered in that. So there's a lot of valuable information in those courses. And so, don't look at it as, oh my God, I have to pay for another course and spend 6 hours doing this thing online. First of all, it's not expensive. Secondly, there's a lot of really good information in it. And third, you can start and stop it. Everything is online now. So you don't have to do it in one sitting. Take your time, embrace it, like learn as much as you can about it. And it ultimately is going to make you a better hunter, a more safe hunter in the long run. And so I encourage guys to do that. And even within that course, it's going to give you a lot of information about your state. States are different. There's not, in Texas where I'm at, there's not a lot of public land to hunt. And so that creates another avenue. Do you get on a lease? What's a lease? What's it cost? Where is it at? What can I hunt? How many guys are on it? That's a completely different dynamic versus, say, New Mexico or Colorado that has a lot of public land. And those public lands are different, right? What unit is there? Is there a draw? Is it over the counter tag? And so there's a lot of information that you can get down wormholes with before you even go out on day one, and so the more that you can kind of immerse yourself, in that, the better off and a better time you're going to have. With public hunts, they talk about pressure. What is pressure? Pressure means how many guys are out there hunting the same spot that you want to hunt. You might get there at 4 a.m. and you're like, I'm going to crush these birds because I'm the only one on the lake. Sun comes up and you look around and you see 6 other guys out there that are doing the same thing. And so, that's pressure. You don't want to necessarily be around pressure. And when you're out there, most of the time, hunters are good people. That said, there are some that are very protective and they're not going to want to help you. And so you don't want to learn those lessons in the field. You want to learn that before you get out there as much as you can anyway. And so that's where, those groups, those chapters can help you substantially in different areas. So you got a license in Texas. You've got Super Combo license. I think a lot of states have that. Michigan, you can get just deer tags, and you can buy two or three of bucks, or buck only tags. And Texas, there's a limit, and every county has a different limit on what you can and cannot harvest. And so you've got your hunter safety, you've got whatever license you want. If you don't want the super combo, if you're not going to fish, great, like, don't get the super combo. I've found, for me, and what I like to do, getting the super combo, I can do whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about going back and going, oh, you know what, I'm going to go deep sea fish this week. I got to get another license. Oh, now I want to go sandhill crane. Now I got to get that. And so knowing what those licenses cover is important. And like, everybody's got them. You can go to Walmart, or your local, obviously, sporting goods store is going to have them. And again, they can answer a lot of those questions. You just walk in and go, oh, man, I don't know what I need. All I know is that I want to go whitetail hunting this year, right? And this is where I'm going to be at in this county, and they can help you as well, and to pick out that right license you want, and keep your license on you. It's important you have that. If you got the hunter safety, carry that with you. There's apps for all that stuff as well. So you have your phone. Almost everybody has one. You can download it. You can keep it. I've been there. I went on a hunt. I was like, I forgot to bring the one thing I forgot to bring was my license. It was in my duck bag, and I'm going on a ram hunt, and I didn't have it. So I had to Google my license number. And it wasn't a big deal, but it took time. And so just kind of pre-plan that stuff ahead. So make sure you have your license, make sure you have your hunter safety with you. There's so much information even on YouTube that you don't know what you're getting, if it's good, if it's bad information. And so I always kind of default back again to the chapters that are there, people that that are potentially hunters, and ask them some of the ins and outs of where you're going to be, what to look for, what to take, what to bring, and then knowing what you are wanting to hunt. Like I said, my first hunt was duck hunt. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what ducks, how they flew, how they landed, how they coupled, what kind of duck is what. Can I shoot this duck during this season? Can I not shoot this duck? Is this one off? There's a vast difference in what you can and cannot harvest. And so all of that information is just, you'll acquire it over time. But if you can get more of that prior to going out, the better off and the better time you will have. And so as far as what to get to start, and all the manufacturers, their job is to sell you something, the next cool Chotsky. And so you can have the best gear on the planet and not be able to hit the broadside of a barn with a shotgun. And so, get whatever gun fits you. It's like anything else. The best gun that you can take is the one that goes bang. And so there is not one that is going to make you more accurate than the next one. And so again, my story, when I started, I talked to my buddy and said, okay, what is exactly what I need? Okay, license, got that. Hunter safety, got that. All right, now what kind of shotgun should I have for these ducks? And the best shotgun, I still have it to this day, and I would probably still use it to this day, and still do actually use it to this day, is a Remington 870 Express. It literally is like the Glock of shotguns. It's about $400. You cannot destroy the thing. I am hard on my equipment, and that thing has been at the bottom of lakes. It's been caked with mud. It has been stepped on by dogs, all of it. And the thing just goes bang every time I pull the trigger. And so you don't need, the badass Benelli, you don't need, the Charles over and under. You don't. I mean, if you can afford that and you want to try that, great. That stuff is just too nice for this guy. I am rough on stuff. And so I know what I'm going to do. And it's going to be whatever it takes to get that animal, that duck, that elk, that whatever. And so I can't have nice things. It is what it is. And um, so I would just kind of look at that, and then what I'll do that in a different video. But then you get down into the weeds of, well, what kind of round do I need? What kind of shotgun shells should I take for dove versus pheasant versus geese, right? And all of almost all shotguns, no matter which brand you get, are going to be just fine, and they're all going to shoot what you need to take down that particular waterfowl or upland bird. They're all going to be fine. And so spend time, taking it to whether it's called patterning. And so once you get it, it's like any other handgun or bow. Some guns just prefer different kinds of ammo over others. And my Remington loves Kent shells. It just eats them. They work. They pattern well out of my Remington. So what do you mean pattern? Well, so you have different chokes that will go into your shotgun, and again, that we'll do that on a different video. But just get you an entry level, gun that goes bang. It fits you well. You're comfortable shooting it. You know how it works. You know where the safety is. And just roll with that, and get out there and have a good time. Gear is another thing. You don't need to go out and buy, 40 different duck decoys, especially if you're going with a guide. With a guide is probably the best way to get out on your first couple hunts, figure out, am I going to like this, right? Like, not everybody likes duck hunting. I love, if I could only do one thing, I would chase birds. That's my stick. I mean, I love to bow hunt. Clearly, you can see stuff in the background. I like to alligator hunt. I like all that stuff. And if it's in the woods and I could fill my freezer with it, I'm in. But if it was legally, I was only allowed to do one thing, it would be chasing birds. And that's just what I like to do. I like being cold and miserable. I like watching dogs work. I like everything about it. And so that's just me. And so you may find that you go duck hunting and hate it. You hate being wet. I don't know, right? Like, you don't like, your boots getting muddy. You don't, you don't want the dog shaking all over your snacks in the middle of a duck blind, whatever it is. Who knows? Maybe you love it. But I would encourage you, just go in with the bare necessities. Like, you don't necessarily need a blind bag. Everybody's, oh, I got a blind bag, I got slings, I got all this stuff. And I have all that. I've been down this road, I'm telling you. And that's why I'm doing these videos, is to help the next guy, like, save your cash. You don't need to go down this unless you really start getting into it and you're starting to travel and you need to have all this stuff to take with you, and you're doing 100% DIY or DIY, deal. Then yeah, but figure out if you like it or not. And so, yeah, entry level gun, don't spend a lot of money on it. Get you some good rounds. They're all fine your first day around, but find out kind of what your gun likes. And by patterning, what I mean is, you just get you a piece of cardboard, you throw it up. I think most gun ranges have a patterning section, and you fire it, and you figure out how many of those pellets are hitting that target. And you're going to have a few flyers, and that's okay, but you're trying to get the bulk or the lion's share of that pattern within your circle. And you do it at about 30 yards or so. And that's going to give you an idea of how well, or what shotgun shells work for that gun. They may not like all of them. You may throw a Winchester in there and you've got flyers everywhere, and like nothing is actually hitting the center of your target. Like, you don't want that. And so that's kind of an expense, which goes back to where get somebody there and say, hey, dude, can I have, like two of your shells, and then try to figure out, which one does your shotgun really enjoy. And I would go that route. And don't worry about bringing decoys. Don't worry about bringing duck calls. You don't need to go buy expensive waders. Just get some muck boots if where you're going to hunt is going to be wet, or you're going to have to retrieve your own ducks. If you're with a guide, you don't have to worry about any of that. Most guide services will have all of that, or they will tell you, before you come, here's a list of things that you need. You need waders, you need a warm jacket, you need waterproof pants. Like that, they'll give you an exact list of what you need, and most of them are going to have shotgun shells there. Not everybody likes to travel with shotgun shells, or they, maybe you just bought the gun and you're heading straight out. Most guides will have something for you there to use if you need to. But they're going to have a dog, or they're going to retrieve the ducks for you. They're going to do all the calling for you. They're going to set the decoys out, the way the wind's blowing, or however they have went out and scouted and they know where the birds are coming in. They've got all the information for you. So don't go into it overthinking that you need all of this stuff. You just don't. You don't need it right out of the chute. Go with the basics, whatever it is to kind of get you by, and that's the best route to go. My second hunt was a whitetail hunt. Again, didn't know what I was doing. Used a buddy's gun, but it was perfect. It was in a blind. Of course, in Texas, we can use feeders, and so it was on a private ranch. It was in a blind, and so the reality is that he wanted first harvest to be successful, and that's really what the whole point is that you want to be in the best possible spot you can, with the best success rate that you can, because it can get very discouraging if you go out 3-4 times or whatever that number is, and you're not seeing game, you're not getting a shot off. It will test your patience and why am I doing this right now? And so that goes kind of back to the guide service. I know that they can be quite expensive, and so if you don't have a guide, but you have somebody to take you, that is going to be your best option to get out there and have a positive experience your first time out. So my second hunt was a whitetail, and again, I was put in a blind. My buddy was like, "Look, we want you to have a successful outing." It was his uncle's ranch. He was kind enough to let me harvest whatever walked through. Not everybody is like that. Some of them will have, hey, you can't shoot any does, you can't shoot any spikes, you can't shoot anything under 8 points. And so it's kind of important to know if you go to a private place, what is that rancher or your homeowner allowing you to do, and know and stay within those limits. You don't want to not become, invited back. You don't want to have any hurt feelings. It's a gift that they're allowing you to come out and harvest, something that's on their property. So respect it and respect their rules, and pick up your shells. I mean, come on, like, never mind. That's a tangent of mine. Like, people go out and they go hunting on private land, and they're, hammering quail or pheasant or whatever it is. And you're walking over all these shotgun halls. That guy's going to go out there and, do his fields and make a living. And he doesn't want to worry about your shotgun shells getting, stuck in his damn, combine or whatever, man. So, do your best to clean up after yourself. That's important. I mean, even if you go with a guide, like, clean out your blind, if you're hammering ducks, like, just leave it better than when you found it. I mean, that's just the golden rule. Anyway, that's beside the point. It's another topic. But, so, and so there was a feeder, and sure enough, at 7 o'clock, the feeder went off. Doe came in, right after the doe came in, here comes a buck, right? And that was my opportunity to harvest that. And so if you can tee yourself up the best you can, utilizing those resources that are available to have a successful first time outing, then it will encourage you not only to get better and learn more, but to understand, like, this is kind of in our nature, especially as men, to be out and hunters, gatherers, providers for our family. It's in our DNA, to go out and bring home the bacon, so to speak. And so if you can, increase your odds the best to your ability, being new, it will make your experience so much better. And if you can have that experience with a buddy, it's even more fold to make you want to come back out. And it's a drive to encourage you to get back out to do some more. um, Another thing that I learned, also, going back to kind of the gear aspect of it, is, again, you don't need to go overboard and buy the entire line of Sitka waterfowl gear, just because it's advertised. That's their job. Their job is to sell you the next cool Chotsky. There's been a ton of whitetail and ducks taken in red plaid with jeans. And so you're breaking up your outline. Is there something to camo? I think to some extent there is, but the reality is all you're doing is trying to break up your outline. And so know your environment. Don't go out there with a bright green shirt on, and expect to hammer something like that. That's not how that works. But you know, knowing where you're going to be at, and knowing your surroundings and just breaking up your outline, is important. So I think a lot of new people think the next cool soft gel cell jacket is going to make me hammer more deer. Well, the reality is they're buying stuff that it's not going to help you. And so spend more time at the range, spend more time shooting arrows, spend more time, learning how to cast a fly rod. That is what's going to get you more food in the freezer, not stuff. And so I would encourage people to just take your time, figure out really after a few visits out, what could benefit you or be an asset in your gear bag, and target that and not go crazy. And again, I am 100% guilty of everything that I'm telling you. And so I'm trying to save the next guy a few bucks. And just like I tell my sons the same thing, like, you don't need the next cool thing. And I've got a closet full of camo. I think it all works. I think depending on what your environment is, it is what it is. I wouldn't wear my waterfowl gear, you know, deer hunting, right? But there's a spot for everything, but you don't need to go crazy with it. And some of those shops have a really nice way of saying, I'm hunting, in these temperatures, for this specific species, and they'll break it down for you so that it makes it a little bit easier to kind of build out your kit. And everything now seems to be going to a layering system, and that's awesome. And I believe in that, especially if you're an active hunter. And there's difference in active hunting and sitting hunting. And so you will find that when I go to Michigan to deer hunt, I am sitting and hunting. I'm not putting any physical activity into tracking or spotting and stalking or at high altitude. Completely different than when I'm in Utah elk hunting. So those systems don't mesh very well. And again, I've tried it, and did I survive and get through? I did. But you know, there's something to say about having a pair of bibs and insulated boots that are meant for sitting versus zip off base layers that are meant for mobile hunting. and I know I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I'm just trying to set the stage of the new guy going, oh my God, I need, 15 layers to go sit in a blind that is not going to keep you all that warm, because that's not what it's designed to do. So just pay attention to where you're going to be at, what you're going to truly need, which is a great way of saying if you're in a blind, whether it's hunting turkey or deer, um, the blind on the inside is black. So if you wear camo inside a black blind, you are going to stand out. You'll be better off wearing a black hoodie inside a blind so they can't see you. And so companies don't tell you that because they're trying to sell you the next Chotsky. And so just be mindful again of where you're going to hunt, what you're going to hunt, and what you're going to need. You may already have it in your closet. There's no reason to spend more money on something if you already have it. So those things as a rookie, when I was going through learning, I didn't know. Nobody told me that. So, I come rolling out with leaf suits and, and puffy jackets and all kinds of shit. And I sit in this black blind and everybody's looking at me like you're an idiot, like you're standing out like a sore thumb because you got this black background with, green camo, that leaves are on, that doesn't make any sense. So, just kind of know where you're going, know what you're hunting, and know how to dress appropriately. Scent blocks, scent washes, those things for a tree stand hunt. Um, I do believe in. I believe in. I don't wash my hunting clothes. I know it's kind of weird, but my whitetail stuff comes home. It goes into my pelican case, and it's sealed off till next year. I do spray down with dead downwind. You're not going to fake out a deer's nose. You might confuse their sight a little bit, but they will hit your scent. There's no doubt about it. I'm a huge believer in that. I don't do the body washes and the soaps and shampoos and all that stuff. Maybe, but I figure after I've got a base layer on, a good merino base layer that's blocking my scent, you've got bibs on, you've got, a hoodie or a puffy on top of that. I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know. I just never bought into that, but I do spray down my clothes with dead downwind for whitetail. I do that 100%. So kind of, that's dealer's choice. Some guys are like, absolutely, I'm all in. I ozone all my stuff. I spray dead downwind. I bathe in dead downwind. I brush my teeth with dead downwind. All the scent blockers and scent crushers and, whatever. In my personal experience, hunting now going on, 25 years. I still shoot whitetail. I still, so I don't know. Maybe, I guess if you're out in the open, if you're not in a blind or it's, a really windy day, I guess, hey, you know what? Whatever you feel makes you more confident going in and elevates your chances, go for it. You do you. I can only reflect on my personal experience, and by no means am I right about everything. So that's kind of the scent block, deal. If you're hunting cold, Ben, shoes, boots, insulation is the key. Your fingers get cold, but you can kind of warm them up a little bit. Your feet get cold, your hunt is over. You're miserable. And so if you're going to invest out of the chute and this is something that you are going to do for an extended period of time, and you're in cold weather, a good insulated pair of boots and socks is hugely important. I would encourage anybody that's going to be in the cold to invest in that. Everything else, your core temperature, all that stuff, you can kind of worm your way with little heaters and pocket heaters and things like that. You can tend to get by, but if your feet get cold, that's a different animal, man. And you're just miserable, and you want to quit, and the day's still early, and it is what it is. So for sure, think about that. Um, some of the things, kind of out of the chute again, depending on what you're going after, there's so much YouTube stuff of these guys just hammering different animals, and you start watching these guys, you're like, what am I doing wrong, and why am I not getting in on elk? Why am I not hammering a whitetail every time I go out? And I would not get caught up into that, because there's obviously, like everybody knows, there's a lot of footage and a lot of downtime that is not getting posted. And so, kind of take that for what it is, and know that there's probably a lot of sitting time in between those videos. But there's a lot of really good guys out there I like to follow, depending on what I'm wanting to learn more about, or different spots to hunt, which is how I usually find a lot of new areas. I don't hunt Texas all the time. I do have some two really good three good spots here that I like to go duck hunting, that are convenient. There's always ducks. I've never been skunked on any hunt. I've not always limited out, but I've never come home empty handed. And so, I repeat those spots all the time. I'm not going to tell you where they're at. But again, hunters are kind of weird that way, right? They don't want to give up their kind of their honey holes. But there's some great opportunity, if you're in Texas down along the coast, during that migration, and with ducks, knowing the migration, that Delta area is really good. And if you ever get a chance to kind of get, east, there's some really good hunting up there. But even expanding some of those places, like, don't get caught up like, oh my God, I got to go to Stuttgart, Arkansas, man, to do timber duck hunts, because that's like the Mecca. Is it the Mecca? Yeah. You know what? The Delta is unbelievably good. That said, there is a lot of other great spots, man, that ducks are going to fly into and out of and stop during their migration. That don't overlook, Nebraska, Kansas, North Dakota. I'm doing those this year, and I did North Dakota last year, and I mean, we hammered them, and we had a ball. It's an experience, different ways to hunt. You don't always want to be in a duck blind. Like, try laying out in the field. Maybe you like that better, right? Like, who knows? And some guys love goose hunting in a field. Some guys, they like to be in a duck blind. Some guys like to build their own. Some guys like to hunt out of a boat. I mean, the options are vast. They're just so many different ways of kind of figuring out what your niche is and what you like to do. It's a journey. You're not going to figure it out in a season, or two, for that matter. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and so many different ways you can kind of approach how you want to do it, and kind of know, as you start your journey. I would suggest also trying to learn kind of one art. When I first started, and I did that duck hunt, and I did the whitetail hunt, and then I did a pig hunt, and then I did a pheasant hunt, and I just was kind of going in all these different directions, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I found was I wasn't mastering any of it, and so I had to just kind of pull myself back and say, look, what are two things I really, really, really want to get really good at? And like I said at the beginning, ducks was waterfowl was number one. And so I hyper focus on waterfowl. And then I really wanted to become a better archery hunter. And so I just decided those are the two things. And I still hunt with a muzzle loader, 100%. 100% will hunt with a muzzle. I will 100% use shotgun slugs. I will 100% use a rifle. I mean, but it is not on my top priority list of things to do. I would rather chase ducks, become a better archer, and if I can archery hunt versus rifle hunt, I'm going to archery hunt. But that's just me, and that's just what I like to do. Not everybody's like that. And my buddies in Michigan are not like that. They used to archery hunt. Now they rifle hunt, and that's all they want to do. They just want to rifle hunt, which is fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. And so those are kind of like my basic introduction into how I got introduced into hunting, things that I learned. Was spending way too much money on gear I didn't need, especially out of the chute. And even now, I mean, I'm still constantly tinkering. People tinker all the time. They're tinkering with arrows, tinkering with bows, tinkering with gear. I just got back from an elk hunt, and I tinkered with, the gear that I was going to take because I wanted to be a little bit lighter and a little bit, make it a little bit easier, so I go a little bit farther up and stay out longer. And but that's kind of a down the road kind of a thing as you figure out what you really want to do, how you want to do it, where you want to do it. Kind of take a baby step. It's a journey, not a sprint. And so, watch some of the guys on YouTube that you may find interesting. We have a podcast called Smash or Pass with a buddy of mine, Travis, and we've introduced a couple folks, or interviewed a couple folks that were from these companies, and we have some more that are coming on board. And it's great to kind of pick their brain, and it helps us become better, because they may not have been hunting as long, but they have a lot more hunting experience. At least for me, they have a lot more hunting hours in than I do. And so that's how I learned new tips and pearls and tricks that is important. And so there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there. So find what works for you and kind of follow those people, and even ask questions online. And they're really good. Most of them are really good at responding to you. And so, from a duck standpoint, if you're looking for some good content on ducks, a couple guys out there are really good. They're Mid-Valley Mercenaries and Outdoor Limits, and they seem, from my perspective, to be really good kind of communicators on what they're doing. And they also have some really good kind of beginner duck stuff, what you need or must have kind of duck equipment. I don't agree with all of it, being down that road, but it will at least give you a good baseline of what to expect. And most of what they have on there are for the DIYer. And so if you're going with a guide service, you can kind of nix quite a bit of what they're suggesting you take. But they have a lot of really good information and a lot of really good content. And so I encourage you to kind of check those guys out. If you're looking from an archery side, or all of the platforms they have out there for planning a hunt, they've got, e-scouting is a very big thing, and you can use that for every species that you want. And there's a ton of those out there. I've started using Go Hunt because they have on their website great tutorials on how to use their maps, how to save them offline, how to mark stuff. And all those guys are really good. Their customer service is great. If you have any questions, you can always call them and ask them. That's a really good place to start too. They help you with out-of-state stuff, how to get tags if it is a tag, if it's a draw, when to apply. All the things that is overwhelming right now when you're starting and not even knowing where to start. Those are some good kind of ways to get your feet wet and figure out, how do I go to Arizona and hunt, antelope or whatever you're looking at doing. Those are some great platforms to check out. The other ones I think are really good if you're wanting to look at kind of some whitetail footage and some good insight. Is Joel at Whitetail Fit is also really good. He's got great content as well, not only from his bows, but more so from a whitetail fitness or a whitetail. I'm sorry, not fitness, but a whitetail information. He has a lot of really good stuff on there. And then Dan Staten with Elk Shape is really good for all kinds of information on elk, elk calling, and he's got some really really good content as well. If you're looking for really good gear review, broadhead reviews, if you're leaning more towards the archery side, I'd encourage you to check out Apex Predator Outdoor. Travis has got some great stuff on, I mean, everything from targets to broadheads to rangefinders. He's got a really cool review of those platforms I was talking about with Base Maps and Onyx, where he's kind of taken those out and really did a deep dive into what really worked. Hunt Stand is another one. If you don't travel, but like um, a local area that can help you if you put tree stands up or ground blinds, you can mark them, share them with your friends. That's a really nice platform as well. And so maybe the next time, we come back on again, I want to make this a series. So I'd love to hear back from you guys. If you have any questions or comments, things I might have bounced over, missed. I'm 100% rookie at this stuff, man. I just thought, you know what? I really didn't see a whole lot of information about how do I even get into hunting. And I just want to touch kind of a bird's eye view of, how I got started, what I used, what places I contacted, how I got into it, how I learned, and I'm still learning. It's a process. But if you have any questions, man, please chime in. Ask one, fire it to me. I'll get back to you guys, and I'll do another drop maybe in a couple days, and we'll kind of go over some different blind setups, tree stands versus ground tripods, and what the differences are, saddles, and maybe go down that whole little bit, and then we'll get into different kinds of shotgun shells, or maybe that for duck hunting, maybe kind of some bow stuff as well, setting up a bow, or what to look for in an arrow, just little things, man, that I think is would be important. Like I didn't have when I was growing up. I didn't have anybody to kind of lean on, and have learned through trial and error. And if I can help you guys or save you guys some time and frustration, I'd love to do that. I think it's important, in the hunting world, to be able to give back, and especially help that next person with any questions that he or she may have that you don't either have somebody to ask or are too embarrassed to ask at one of your local chapters. I know I certainly was. You kind of walk into those and go, "Hey, man, I should already know all this stuff." So I'm not going to ask them about, patterning a shotgun. I'm just going to go buy, some shells and good luck. But if we can save you a little bit of time, a little bit of money, a little bit of frustration, that's important. So as always, I really appreciate you guys chiming in. It's my first, or I guess my second live feed. I had a little problem there with the camera earlier, but I encourage you to check out Apex Predator Outdoor. Also, chime into our podcast, Smash or Pass podcast. We try the best we can. Everybody works, but we try the best we can to at least drop one new podcast a week if possible. Got some great guests coming up, and had some great guests in the past. A lot of really good information, a lot of fun, and just a bunch of, a couple of dudes having a good time on YouTube, and kind of sharing our stories and keeping it basic, keeping it real, and enjoying the time. So as always, I really appreciate you guys, and moving forward, man, just every day give excellence.